you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
He's the second winner of the essay contest, and we're very glad to have you here. Just some questions on your essay. First one will be, in your essay you actually mentioned that building a culture of entrepreneurship within the young generation, as it was done in Silicon Valley a couple of years ago, we can fight youth unemployment through that. How do you think the culture of entrepreneurship from Silicon Valley can be transferred to other countries, like Spain, where youth unemployment is really, really high at that moment?
I mean, what makes Silicon Valley so different from other places around the world? I think I've spoken to a number of people who've launched startups there, and I've spent time there myself, and everyone talks about the buzz of places like Silicon Valley and other startup hubs. You're around innovative, creative people, and that inspires you to be innovative and creative yourself. But surely we can create that kind of culture in other places too. If you get a critical mass of young, innovative people, that will self-propagate and create communities that grow and grow and grow outside of California. And I think key to that is educational reform and trying to build entrepreneurship and a culture of innovation into the educational system from a really young age.
But the culture of entrepreneurship actually also requires a large amount of capital, no? So probably that's going to be provided by the older generation. What do you think are the main challenges then for a young generation to get capital from the older generation?
It's interesting. I mean, you could argue that it actually doesn't require as much capital as any previous time in history, right? Now you can launch a business with just a laptop, right? Whereas previously you might have needed a factory to produce things. Now we're talking in the essay a little bit about 3D printing, which is becoming more and more affordable. You may be able to manufacture on a smaller scale. So I actually think the cost and capital required to start a business is lower than it ever has been. But it's still not zero. You need some capital, and that'll need to be provided, yes, potentially by higher generations, potentially at a government level, from somewhere.
So you also founded the non-profit tech startup survey, and created an app called iResident. Right? So from your perspective as a young leader of tomorrow, what is your experience concerning the dialogue with older generations and the founding process of local startups?
So both Surveyed and iResident were app-based projects. Surveyed was an app that allowed users to complete market research surveys in return for a charity donation, and iResident was a task management tool for doctors. As I was going through both startup processes, I noticed very much that the startup world is dominated by young people. This is one of the fields where there's more intergenerational polarization than perhaps in any other. So your question was about how to seek the wisdom, draw the wisdom of older generations into that process. I'm not sure, it's a difficult one. I've had various mentors along the way who've been of various ages, some quite old, and I think they've been key in the success of both of those app projects. I think it's about both from the young generation's perspective and the older generations reaching out and trying to create some dialogue, and I've deliberately gone out and tried to seek mentors who are a bit older and bring a different perspective.
Right. So thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
And have fun at the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.